All right, today we got Joel Porter from Crown Creek Kennels in North Carolina. How you feel about the event? Are you ready for it?
Absolutely. We last year at the 2011 Master Nationals in Maryland, the day we left, we started preparing for the 2012 Master Nationals in Demopolis, Alabama. So it's been a year in the works, a lot of hard work into it, a lot of time away from home, qualifying dogs. So, yeah, we're tickled to death about it coming up and really excited.
Fantastic. Well, this year I think is a record year. I think somewhere around 900 dogs entered the event. How do you feel about that? Is that good for the sport, good for the dogs and the owners? Is that too many? What are your thoughts on that?
900 dogs, 902 dogs qualified for this year's Master Nationals. I think that really says a lot about the people, the sport. I think it says a lot about the location as well. People have really, with that number, have really started to focus on the Master Nationals. People have put a lot of hard work, a lot of hard training, and dog work's been good over the past year to get to that number. So I think it's very good for the sport. I think it will only grow from there.
Yeah, I think that says a lot about the sport for sure. Many people participating, and that doesn't mean that. Doesn't even say the dogs that don't get there, or don't make it that far. So, talking about that, what goes into getting to the Master National? I mean, what kind of commitment is that for you, the trainer?
Question. We can look at it. What goes into getting to the Master Nationals on a year-to-year basis, or we can go into looking at what it takes to get a dog to the Master Nationals. It just really depends. If you're starting with a puppy, it takes a lot. If you already have a master dog, then it takes 6 passes a year, or it takes 4 passes and a qualifying score at the previous year's Master National. There's a lot that really goes into it. Dogs have to qualify, like I said, six events. So you really have to have a consistent dog throughout the year. You have to have a dog that trains well, that travels well, and week in and week out has its head on its shoulders.
Yeah, I would think so for sure. How many dogs are you taking this year?
Right now it's looking like we're going to have 8 at the Master National this year. A lot of that's still up in the air. The cutoff date for entries is not till September 14th, so we really won't know officially how many we'll have until that day. You have to look at a lot of females when heat cycles are and stuff like that. My crew's running a little bit ragged right now, especially my females. I've got one female that just had to go in and have a spot removed off her belly yesterday, so she's out for 3 weeks. We're kind of up in the air whether we'll have her back. I have one of my females that's just come off a litter of puppies. We're hoping to have her, and we've got one female that's her heat cycle could quite possibly play a role in whether she runs or not. So right now we're at 8. I'd feel real good about having 7 there. All the dogs are training well. It just really depends on what the future holds on how many exactly we have there.
And does your training change for this event? I mean, do you train differently for the Master National than you would for just your regular season of hut tests or field trials, whatever you're running in?
Prior to running national type events, prior to this, we used to run the UKC Grand and that type of stuff. I would have told you my training changes. Yes, it did. After running a few, seeing what they're all about, we changed our training to fit the Master National or the Grand event. We don't train for a Master test. We train for Master National. We don't train for a Grand test. We train for the Grand. We don't train for a UKC finish test. We're training for the Grand. So when we start a dog, our focus is Master National or the Grand. So we put all the work in from day one with that goal in mind. So our training doesn't really change. That's always been our goal. That's what we keep as our goal, and we train just as hard from day one till the event.
Great. And what do you know about the Master National test? Is it different than your normal master test, how much information are you given as a professional trainer about what to expect from the test? Is there anything that you're given, or is it just what you've known and what you've seen in the past that helps you kind of prepare for it, but at the end of the day, it's an open book. When you get there, you find out?
Well, ultimately, it's an open book. When you get there, you find out. But there's, if you do your homework in this game, you can kind of know what you're going to be faced with. Of course, the Master National judges are published a year in advance, so we know as trainers, as pros, as amateurs, as people that run Master Test, we know what judges are going to be judging. So we look for those judges at test. There's a lot of times we'll go to a test that's a little bit outside of our comfort area, just so we can run under one of the Master National judges. That way we see how they judge, we see what they set up, we find out what they really look for in a test. So that's a little the homework that we do a year ahead of time. But ultimately, we find out what we get when we get there. Typically, your Master National test versus your weekend Master test are a little bit different. Your distances are going to be stretched somewhat at the Master National. You're typically not going to see a short breaking bird or a hurry up and get through it test. You're going to see quality test out of every series. You're going to see well-placed birds. You're going to see judges that have spent a lot of time placing birds in the field and putting them in places where dogs don't exactly want to go. So you see quality tests. Your dog has to mark. Your dog has to run good blinds, and you have to have control throughout.
Very good. So it's a lot like a college football or basketball team. I mean, you're training year long for the end goal to go to the Master National and to pass. You're essentially scouting judges when you have the opportunity to. So it's really a sort of a year-long grind that your ultimate goal is to get to that national championship and to win.
Exactly. And, we start the year with that as a goal. There's a lot that goes into that goal that's not necessarily just a dog running an event. A lot of times it's researching judges, it's researching grounds. I know prior to this year's Master Nationals, the grounds in Demopolis are about 10 hours from me at the kennels. I made a special trip down there this spring to run a test just so I could see the grounds, be on the grounds, kind of put my eyes on stuff, put my fingers on stuff, and see exactly what I was faced with. That way I could come home and know that, I may see this or I may see this, or this is a water blind we'd see at the Master Nationals. So a lot of homework goes into it. It's not just training a dog. A lot of it is research on the phone, checking out your judges, getting other people's opinions about things.
Right. And in your opinion, if you were talking to just anybody talking about the Master National, and you said you have to be really good at blank to be successful in the Master National, what would that be?
Having run the past Master National, I think you have to be really good at marking. If your dog goes out there for 5 series and marks 5 clean triples, you're ahead of the game. And you also have to be under control. So if you have a really good marking dog and an under control blind running dog, you got the whole thing licked. If you don't handle on a bird and you don't give them a reason on a blind to mark you down, you've got to pass the Master National. It's easy if you look at it that way. But the key is having that dog marking that well and running that well of blinds at that time.
Right. And to lay it out there for the folks that might be listening, how many series are there? What do you have to pass in order to become a Master National hunter? How's it set up? What do you have to do to get that end result to become that champion?
Okay. Master Nationals is typically it's a 5-series event. It's not so much based on series as much as it is based on days and being equal on the 3 to 4 different flights that they're running. But typically the Master National is 5 different series, which equals out to 5 different tests. You have to qualify each day at those tests. You know, it's kind of like playing in the NCAA basketball tournament. If you don't make it through day 1, you can't compete on day 2. So every day you wake up, you're next on the line. You go out, you do your best with your dog. If you qualify that day, then you're carried to day 2 or series 2. You qualify then, of course, it goes on down the line, series 3, 4, 5. After series 5 and the Master National wraps up, then they have the presentation of the Master National plates and the ribbons for the dogs that posted qualifying scores. So dogs that has made it through 5 series receive their qualifying score through the Master National. To obtain your Master National title, it takes 3 qualifying scores, so that equals out to 3 years. 3 years you have to make it through 5 series. And the series are tough, the series are long, and they can be brutal.
Exactly. And lastly, if you've got a dog that passes the Master National, what do you have?
You have a dog that is able to be titled to the AKC as a Master National hunter. You have a well-rounded dog that has shown control for several years in a row. You have a dog that has shown that it's capable of handling just about any situation you can put it in. And you have a dog that has shown that control and shown that ability in front of numerous judges. I mean, you look at, you have to do it for 3 years. 3 years in a row, or 3 times at the Master National level. So right there, 6 different judges that are giving you their opinion on your dog. So we have 6 Master National judges giving you that opinion. Then it takes 6 passes a year to qualify for the Master Nationals. So that's 12 judges a year. That's 36 additional master judges that gave you their opinion on what type of dog you have. You have a dog that is very special, that can handle just about any situation, and is able to mark and find birds in about any type environment.
Great. Well, we sure appreciate your time today, helping explain some things, and looking forward to the event. We wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you, Stuart. And like always, I appreciate you calling me about this. I'm always glad to help, and anytime in the future, feel free to give me a call.
Great. Thank you, Joel. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Stuart.